Fresh out the oven, it's Cinema Bums. I'm Emmett.
And I'm Wade.
Cinema Bums is a podcast where we watch through every single movie in popular film franchises, one each week, to try and track how the storytelling changes over time. Today, we are continuing our miniseries Denis for Two, covering every film directed by Denis Villeneuve leading up to Dune. We will fully spoil today's film, but we will not spoil any future entries in the series. Wade, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, Evan?
I am also doing well. I'm especially doing well today because we're honored to have a special guest. He's a writer, comedian, and cat daddy who is probably writing on his Instagram story right now about how the heptapod words for capitalism and death process are the exact same. Please welcome Chandler Pennington.
Woo! Yeah, wow, that's good. You got me down to a T. I thought you usually end these intros with like a joke that's not true about someone.
Actually, go back and re-listen. They're all true.
They're all true.
The joke is that they have all been true.
It's true.
And then at the end, when I do my plugs, that's the part that's actually a lie. Because the things I plug don't actually end up happening.
That is true.
That's 90% of the people.
Last time you were on.
Yeah. I can't speak for others, but I can speak for myself.
How's the non-essentials coming, Chandler? The film you plugged the last time you were on. What's the latest update?
It is still coming. They sent me like a draft of the trailer.
Okay.
It's coming. It looks like it could be all right. I don't know.
Cool.
Give us your trailer reacts.
I think it's best practice to only say positive things about anything on a podcast. So no, it's honestly not a very good trailer. The trailer has like words over it. Like it's not like voiceover, it's like text. So it looks kind of, but I know it's an early draft and there's some cool moments.
Well, excellent. And we also have a little bit of housekeeping, a little thing to plug here at the beginning, because Bumtober starts this Friday, October 1st. It is finally here.
Woo!
Follow us on Instagram at CinemaBums to vote every single day of Bumtober on a movie series we should cover. Chandler, if you want to, you can give the final Bumtober suggestion right now before the submission box closes.
Oh, geez. Can I hear what's already on?
No. You can just make a suggestion cold.
But I'll tell if you say one that's already been given.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think several of yours are on there already.
Yeah, I was gonna say my number one is definitely the Barbie movie series.
Do you want to say anything? Yeah, in defense of your Barbie suggestion.
Well, there's so many and they went on for so long. You've got like 20, 30 years of just creative beauty. And I only saw like a few of them, like the early ones, but I kind of grew up on those movies, honestly. Like,
interesting.
There's a few years of my childhood where we just watched a few of them like over and over and over. And they're honestly really, really good. Like, from what I remember, they were like good movies. So, I don't know. I think it'd be a real up and down going through like 20 years of the Barbie franchise.
And we would get to finish with the Barbie movie that is coming out, being directed by Greta Gerwig.
Oh, that would be such a wild crossover.
And starring Margot Robbie?
Yeah.
That is...
Which is going ahead.
I don't know. It does sound like we might have to do it.
But we could not spend 35 weeks.
You could double up because they're short. Okay. They're baby movies. You know?
That's true.
What is that?
So then that's like 16. It'd still be the longest thing we'd ever done.
It's like 4 months about. That's about the max I'm willing to do. I would be willing to do like a 16. Yeah, but that's pretty close to the max. If the people did vote for it, Chandler, what one would you want to be on?
I feel like I might want to be on one I haven't already seen.
Okay,
I do have some strong feelings about those early ones. It might be cool to revisit. So I'd either do the Rapunzel one.
Okay,
where Rapunzel, if I recall correctly, discovers that she can paint portals. to travel through.
Whoa.
Wow.
Into, I don't remember if it's a fantasy world or just parts of the world. Like, I think if she paints a real place, she can go there.
There's Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
They are also another real, like, just something positive to say about that franchise is they are, like, meant to be, like, feminist. Like, that was the intent behind them.
Nice.
I don't know if that carries throughout, but I know, like, part of the original is, like, because Barbie was dealing with sort of some, like, you know, bad press, I guess, about, like, their, you know, whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
And so they were like, well, let's make some girl movies, but have them be like, because like Rapunzel, it's not just like the prince saves her, you know. It's like, so spoiler alert. But
cool.
Swan Lake one is a work of art, visual masterpiece.
I have a sinking feeling that this is going to be the series that we're doing. So I
think it's going to be at the top.
I think it's going to be in the top.
Least.
Like I say, it makes it to the final 4 at least.
I'll be happy just to get it that far. That'll be.
But you saying this does make me like at least not dread it. So that's good.
Yeah, that is good to hear.
I think you guys would have fun with it and hate it. I think it would have really matched the energy of watching through X-Men. I think if you're trying to recapture that lightning in a bottle, which I think you should be, then I think that the Barbie franchise is the way to go.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
As a big fan of you guys.
Thank you.
I listened recently to the Candyman episode so that I didn't have to watch it.
Did you see either of them, or you just listened?
No, I don't like horror that much, but I'm interested in it. So I was like, let me listen to those bums.
Well, yes. So thank you, Chandler, for this suggestion of the Barbies. Once again, listeners, please follow us on the Instagrams. Vote during the Bumtober bracket. We're very excited about this. Help pick our next series. And get this. If your series is picked, you will get to, if you wish, come on and guest for an episode of your choosing.
Wow.
Yeah, if you want to, we'll give you a first pick on which in the series.
Vote for Barbie, guys.
Unless you're the one person who sent in holes, in which case you will only talk about holes. There aren't any other options.
That's good. Who sent in holes? Can you reveal?
I'm not going to reveal, but I know who it is.
Well, I'm glad you're protecting their
She knows if she's
reputation.
Listening. That's what I'll say.
You know who you are.
So, Chandler, this movie that we're talking about today, Arrival, 2016 Denis Villeneuve film. Had you seen it before you watched it for this episode?
I had, yes. It took me a while to see it. I did not see it in theaters. I really wish I had. It was one that people told me that like I specifically would like. You know what I mean? It was like, Chandler, you'll like this movie. You should watch it. And then sometimes when that kind of thing happens, I weirdly put off watching that thing. But I did, and I was like, spoiler alert, it's very, very good. It's a very good movie.
That's funny. I think that's something that both of you have in common, in fact, because I watch a lot of new movies, and I can like very easily identify what's an Emmett movie or what's a Chandler movie.
Yeah.
But I do feel like whenever I choose to tell that to either of you, it just makes you a little reluctant.
I did very quickly watch the most recent thing. I think you told me the what was that animated movie?
The Mitchells versus the Machines.
Yeah. I watched that like that week, and you were right. It was really good and up my alley.
I'm glad. It is really good. It's a bad title, I've got to say, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's not a great title.
Chandler, had you seen any previous movies by Denis Villeneuve?
I had. I'd seen Blade Runner, his Blade Runner. Didn't like it very much. And Sicario, which I do like.
Interesting. What do you like about Sicario? Because we were trying to figure out what people like about Sicario when we talked about that movie.
I don't. It's been so long since I watched it, honestly. I was just tense, you know? Some pretty good performances. I love Mr. Del Toro. I really like the scene at the end in her apartment. It's like this weird Like there's something very like grounded about it that makes it kind of scary. That just like in her apartment feels very like real. I don't know. That makes sense.
You're from Texas too, so I wonder if did any of that stuff stand out to you when you saw it?
Yeah, that movie is all exactly what Texas is like. Not really. I lived more in North Texas, so a lot of that, yeah, not really.
Emmett, that's his highest rated movie.
Really?
I was looking this up today. Yeah, it's very close, but the top 3 on Metacritic is number 1, Sicario, with an 82. Number 2, this film, Arrival, at 81. And 3 is Incendies, with an 80.
Wow.
So they're all that close, but that's the order. And that includes Dune, by the way, because the reviews have dropped.
Have already come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I know we get to this later, but I've been reading Dune.
Oh, let's do it now. Because I have almost nothing to say.
Let's do
so, Chandler, what's your Dune book report?
Yeah, what's your Dune book report, Chan?
I suspect further along than you, Wade.
Most certainly.
But working through very slowly, I think I averaged like a chapter a week at this point. I think like 2/3 of the way through, maybe a little more than that. But it's really good. I'm just bad at reading books, honestly. But it is really good. I get it.
It is really good. It's so readable in a way that I feel like books from that time period are not.
I agree, yeah.
And books in this genre are not, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hard sci-fi is often hard.
Yeah. And considering how like abstract so much of the world building is, that I love the way it's just like information is just dropped, just referenced, and it's like, get over it. So many words, so many proper nouns, so many like just like italicized words where you think like, oh, that must mean something, and you Google it and the only results are about Dune, people trying to figure out what this word means. It's so cool. Eventually you just like, you stop Googling the things and you just like take it in, you know.
Well, wait, now that Chandler has told us why books are good, will you tell us about the very brief stats on this movie?
Oh, certainly. Today we are talking about A Rival. Its sequel, A Teacher, is also available on Hulu. That was my prepared joke.
This movie is a twin to the movie Enemy. It's Enemy and A Rival.
That's correct, the sequel. This is Arrival, the 8th film directed by Denis Villeneuve. It was written by Eric Hesserer, who has only, other than this, written horror films. He wrote A Nightmare on Elm Street, 2010. The Thing, 2011. Lights Out, and Bird Box.
Interesting.
But he is currently working on Shadow and Bone on Netflix, which is a TV show adapted from the Lee Bardugo novels, but he developed and wrote and showruns that. And I've heard that's pretty good.
I've only seen Bird Box out of all those ones that you mentioned.
I have only seen Lights Out, and it is good. And I've heard all the rest of those are bad, which is why I haven't watched them.
I think that Bird Box is a really cool idea, and it doesn't get a lot farther than that.
But this movie, Arrival, is based on the 1998 novella Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang, a short story writer. Any experience with the author?
Only the experience of being told that I need to read the short story and then not doing that.
And as previously mentioned, you decided not to.
I decided not to do that thing and to look it up on Wikipedia instead.
The score of this is by Johan Johansson. This is his third Denis movie and the last he composed before he died in February 2018 at age 48.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Man, the music in this movie is really good.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm not a music guy. I have no more developed thoughts than just that it's really good.
Well, I'm just adding to it a little here. The opening and closing track, the like piece of music that plays over the opening and the closing, is the song On the Nature of Daylight by Max Richter. So that is not Johan's score. That is like a pre-existing track by Max Richter, who's also awesome. And because of that, the film was deemed ineligible to be nominated for Best Original Score at the Oscars.
What?
Because of prominently featuring...
Just kidding. I'm changing my name here right now to Johann Was Robbed.
Truly.
Yeah, for real.
Truly.
It's like cinema bums. How can the Academy disappoint us this time?
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be more of that as we go on.
Good. We'll lay it on us.
But obviously that opening track is awesome, but all the music throughout is incredible. All of like the weird choral stuff he does in the middle.
Oh yeah.
Like the vocal stuff. So strange.
So cool.
Yeah. It is like creepy and unsettling, but like I feel like some like horror music is almost like manipulative. It's like it's like, yeah, these are scary sounds. Like this is a scary song. This is priming me to be scary. This doesn't feel like it's doing that. It just feels very like alien and like big. Because I think like a big part of this movie that's like so cool is like how it's like simultaneously kind of like a small story about a couple of people and also just like the most important thing to happen in human history, you know? And that sort of like juxtaposition, I think, is like carried along by this very like kind of serene, but also otherworldly and freaky music.
Alien and big. Those are the two best ways to describe the aliens in this movie as well.
That's true.
You know,
weird
like,
and large.
Weird and large and like unsettling, but not overtly threatening.
The alien design is so freaking cool.
It is.
I
so
feel
cool.
like I just have seen so many aliens that are like not cool. Like you kind of go like one way or the other where it's like too human, where it's just sort of the Star Trek thing where like everyone looks like a human, but they've got different color skin and latex head, you know?
Yeah.
Or like hard the other way where it's all just like weird monster creatures.
Yeah.
But this felt like so weird, but in a way that like so much else in this movie was also very grounded. I don't know if scientifically they make sense, but like I love how sometimes they zoom up and it's like, cause the bottom looks like a hand, you know, like it kind of like knuckles, but it also almost looks like there's a face on it. And then later you see the full body and there's kind of the head at the top. So you're like, is that its like head, face? Like, I don't know. I think it's really awesome. And without being, it's like motivated by something. There's like a clear design. And I love the reveal of like the rest of the body and how like simple the rest of it is.
Yeah.
Because you think like, oh, there's like, we're about to zoom up and just, it's going to be so freaking weird. And instead it's like just kind of a weird, smooth bulb, you know?
It looks like there's a little top hat at the top.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, with a little nipple at the top. Like, you're like, is that its brain? Like, is what we've been seeing just like its body? And then the rest is like brain? Because it's clearly the smart thing. Like, whatever it is, it's smart, you know? Good alien.
What the bottom half of it looks like to me is the spiders from Enemy.
Oh,
like in such a big way. And I hadn't seen Enemy the first time I saw this. That movie features giant spiders, another Denny movie. And they're all based on this like sculpture of a giant spider called Mother that's in Ottawa that he saw growing up as a child. And that is like pretty much what their legs look like.
Yeah.
Like the bottom half of them, which is all that we see for most of the movie. To me, they look just like that Mother sculpture.
I've just looked it up. I see what you mean.
But I will say this, as somebody who is like horribly afraid of spiders,
me too.
They creep me out because they look like spiders, but they are enough different from spiders that I can stand to look at them and like humanize them in a way that I couldn't if it was just a giant spider.
I feel the same. I'm also very, very scared of spiders, and including like in movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like it occurred to me, but then I didn't really think about it after that. Like,
they move more like octopus.
Yeah. But then they do that weird open up face hugger thing to spray their ink.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool moment when Louise is in on the other side of the glass at the end of the movie. and the ink stuff like falls over her hands, and she's just looking at it like holy crap, I just like touched it. Like she seems thrilled to have gotten to touch the ink stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really liked her character in this movie and like her reactions to things.
Mm-hmm.
Which is often not like not really reacting to things. Like that's what's interesting about it.
Yeah.
Is how much she just sort of like stomachs and internalizes and like doesn't have a comment on.
I think this is like the performance of a lifetime from Amy Adams.
Dude. Yeah.
It just kicks, dude. From moment one, she's so in it. She's like 100% in it the whole time. And I feel like on the rewatch, you like understand the moment when she starts to understand long before the movie tells you that's what's going on. Like you see her putting it together before the movie puts it together for you, which I think is so.
If I can talk about the intro a little bit, just like the first 5 minutes of this movie, I think is like crazy effective because so much of what I like about this movie is how it's, like I said, like obviously a big high concept, and there's stuff in it that like scientifically may or may not make sense. I don't know. Like as far as like building like the world and how people act, feels very grounded. Like feels very realistically human. Like if a spaceship landed in Montana, like the army would be there and they'd like have to lock down the state and stuff. And you've got like one thing I really like is the bird in the cage in there. That's such an interesting image. And it's such a cool thing of like you've got all this military tech equipment and you're taking all these precautions, but it's like also we've just got a bird. It feels important even though it's not. The bird never dies.
Ever pay off?
I argue that it is. Okay, and here's the thing. I think it's the radiation that she's exposed to by talking to the aliens that causes the cancer that kills her daughter. Like I think it's all tied together, and that like the bird is like the bird is our symbol for that, and like
interesting
is like tied into that because
what happens with the bird? Does anything ever happen with the bird?
No, nothing.
Well, doesn't it get blown up in the explosion?
No, I don't think the bird is even, because they go up after the session to plant the bomb. I don't, and I think they bring the bird in with them for the sessions. So. Yeah, you just never really follow up on the bird. Yeah. But it's in the painting. That's sort of which is interesting.
Oh, right.
Because I don't really agree with what you're saying that the daughter got cancer from her taking the suit off or whatever. But what you said about the bird sort of representing the daughter is interesting because like she's drawn this picture, which sort of seems like a family picture, but she's not in it. It's just mommy and daddy and the bird. So that's kind of an interesting image there.
Yeah, the opening. Okay, so it's clear from this opening that Denny has seen Up.
What?
It's clear that he was like, oh yeah, the first 10 minutes of Up. Yes, we're going to do that. We're going to do it in live action. And I'm going to get the Oscar. But now, thinking back on it, that all happens before she learns the language, right?
Right.
And the thing I like about it is that her like ability to see the future, we learn, is from her learning this language, not from like some superpower that she always had.
Right.
Yeah. So is that just like a flash that comes later in timeline that we see up front?
Well, because it opens with her saying the story of your life begins something.
Yeah.
So it's her, the whole thing is framed as her retrospectively telling her daughter the story of her life. And you think at the beginning that everything that happens after the death of her daughter, and that she's a mother grieving the loss of her child. Like that's like the deep grief that's sitting on her throughout this movie. And then it was revealed like in the middle there that that's not what's going on.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's to help give the viewer the same experience that she has, like in the middle of it, I guess. Because you can see both ends of it.
I mean, I agree. I think what you're saying is correct as far as like the timeline. I don't think she's like seen visions her whole life, but I think that like because there's stuff where it's like you can use information from the future now, like the conversation with General Zhang, which I feel like we should circle back to that in general. But like that's like clearly like how she lives her life and like interacts with time itself changes. And it's like, it might be a thing where it affects the past too. Not like changes the past, but it's like, but it's interesting because she starts out she does seem just so like dead inside. And not in, like she's walking in and people are getting up and gathering around this news TV screen, right? And like I think we see her notice that, and like that's a lot of people standing and like forming around this news thing. It's like it's pretty normal to be like, okay, what's happening, you know? But she just kind of ignores it and walks on, and then like, and it seems like almost like she knows like when she asks where everyone is, it's like she knows something bad has probably happened, but she just like doesn't even want to think about it until she has to. Like it feels like the equivalent of like a 9/11. Like everyone's sitting at the TV, people are not going into work or whatever, and she's just like, I don't want to have to deal with a 9/11 right now. I'm gonna ignore this until a student asks me to turn on the TV, and then I have to look. And then I stand right in front of it while I noticed that like it's a cool shot, but I'm like, she's just standing directly in front of the TV, blocking it from everybody. I'm like, could you just stand off to the side, please? Like, but I think also one thing that's so cool about that intro is like once like the alarms start to go off and they're starting to like evacuate, you know, like things like that are happening. Like it's sort of this thing which like in 2016 I don't think a lot of Americans could probably relate to, but now like obviously it's a totally different scale, but just like the idea of like a global event that changes your routine that day, you know, like I mean 9/11 was probably like if you're watching it and you experienced that, you're probably reminded of that watching the beginning of this movie. But then also kind of like the news about COVID and like, do we have to go to work tomorrow? Like that, like when people are just like shuffling out, it's not like, oh my God, the world is ending. We're immediately rioting and everyone's just like going crazy and there's orgies in the park. It's like, just kind of like walking out, just going where you're told and being like, do I have to go to work tomorrow? You know?
And like the person, like the biggest thing that happens from that is that a car rear ends another car in the park.
Yeah, which was such an thing to focus on.
So grounded and like just like you said, exact. It is like that small thing. You're distracted driving, so you like bump the car. And of course, it's the famous Denny car crash, which he loves.
Does he always have car crashes? Is that a thing?
He very often does.
Oh yeah. I can honestly relate to that. Where like early on in like those first week or so of COVID, of like how long is this, how real is this, how much is this actually going to like affect me in my life. Me and my roommates just like went to Kroger. We're like, I guess we're just gonna buy a bunch of groceries and like some toilet paper if we can, you know. And I was like, I did like self checkout and then just like left without paying. And then like it was Jay came out. It's just like, it's like, hey, you didn't pay. They're like, and I maybe would have just left, but I'd given my phone number for my Kroger card. So I was like, all right, I got to go back and pay. But it's like that kind of thing where you're just like, that could just like happen. But you're like, maybe I'm like a little more like freaked out that I'm letting myself acknowledge right now. Cause like I could totally see someone just like backing into someone in the parking lot. But then just again, just like trying to keep it cool. It's like mundane. And so much of this movie feels mundane and like they're just at work. And so much of this movie, again, is the biggest thing to ever happen in human history.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Now I'm a little twisted about the beginning, though.
What do you mean?
Because it really does seem in that beginning that she is being like haunted by the memory of her daughter. Like in sequence, that's what you're supposed to assume is going on.
Yes.
That's why she's acting that way. But if she hasn't had those visions at all yet, then like, what is that?
To me, on the rewatch, it feels like almost like she is just someone like cursed with a terrible purpose, a terrible burden that she hasn't met yet. Like she's she is waiting for this to happen and she doesn't know it, but she feels it.
She feels that she is waiting. Yeah. And because it reverberates backwards across time into her life. Yeah.
And she's got this real like almost like Dr. Manhattan thing going on.
Yeah.
But also like not in a huge way because like she obviously like loves her daughter and presumably loves Jeremy Renner at some point. But like she's got also this thing of like, I've seen time, you know, like I don't exist, like I do not exist on the same plane as everyone else in my life, you know? Which I also wonder about, like, presumably it happens because she learns the language and she also teaches the language. Something I want to know is like, how many other people are also getting this power? Like how radically is this like changing like the human race? Is this going to be a thing where in a generation or two, this is the new literacy where everyone sees the future, you know, like, or is this a big evolutionary step, or is it like some people have this special skill, some people bother to learn the language?
I feel like that is the implication, that it becomes widespread. And that's what they're like hoping for with the 3,000 years time, that like by that point, pretty much everyone will have been able to see time like they do.
Yeah, and you'll be able to help us out. That is such a cool, it's so cool. It's such a cool idea of like, we're going to need your help. We'll be back. No details.
And interestingly, that is a new idea. That is new for the movie, not from the book. In the book, there's never any explanation of why they are on Earth at all. They come in, she learns the language, and eventually they disappear. And it is only about like her personal story and doesn't have like the wider effect of her, say, like saving the world from the brink of war.
I think that stuff is all really good additions.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it is that she can only see her experience, because I think she's seeing. I felt too. Yeah. I think she's seeing memories in the same way that we can only see memories of our past. She is just seeing those of things, her memories of things that happen in the future.
Which reminded me of like the concept of like supposedly like every time you remember an event, it changes in your memory a little bit, and you can really like for your reality like change the past. Like, you know, it doesn't change for other people, but like, you know, it's like for all intents and purposes, this is what happened, the way you're remembering it. You don't really have anything else to go off of for a lot of your memories. That felt like what you said about how it ripples through the past was like, we're seeing that she knows the future, but it also is like she's becoming a being above time, which includes like her past, because it's not past anymore.
Also reminds me a lot of the Tralfamadorians from Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five, and the character in that book who, like, I think the first line of that novel is whatever, Billy Pilgrim became unstuck in time. And that's like kind of this, a similar thing happens to him over the course of that book, where he is like, he can remember all these different things out of order, basically.
Yeah. And
which I think is really interesting.
There is something like that in Dune too. I think Wade is not far enough along that I don't want to spoil anything. But
that is a little, I guess.
But the idea also of like in the moment now, he's using a memory of the future to help him out. Like that conversation with General Zhang, just such a cool scene. And she plays that so well. It's just this like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like, it's like, I'm here now. Oh, I'm here. Oh, this is important. Okay. All right. Yes. Your phone number. Like,
yeah.
So cool. So cool. And I don't know if Zhang maybe also knows about it because he's learned the language and can see the future. I don't get that vibe. He doesn't have that like otherworldly glazed over thing. I think he just knows other, I guess he remembers the phone call. He's like,
he got the
at
phone
some
call
point
first.
This happens.
Because he has a memory of the past.
Yeah.
Which is the future for her in the present, but the past for them both in that moment.
Yeah. And he's like, I know at some point I have to meet her to give her my phone number so she can call me in the past.
Yeah.
And tell me. Yeah. Do either of you know, I thought about looking it up, but do either of you know his wife's last words were? Because I think hear her say, you do? Mm-hmm. Would you mind?
I know that it was a big point of contention because the screenwriter spent like a huge amount of effort to get the exact translation and the exact words correct. Mm-hmm. And then Denny didn't subtitle it.
Right. Yeah.
Denny was like, no, I think it's better. I think it's better if you don't know.
Yeah.
I think it is too. But here we go.
This is what it is.
I want to know, but I liked not knowing during the watching of the movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The translation is, in war, there are no winners, only widows.
Oh. That's his wife's dying words?
Oh my God.
What? Oh my God. That's epic. And I also am glad that I didn't see that on a subtitle, because I think I think that would have broken immersion, because I'm like, that's so much. Like, that is so dramatic. But as like an afterthought kind of thing, very cool as last words. In war, there are no winners, only widows. And she's saying this to the chairman of the People's Liberation Army. I mean, we don't know if he was that at that time, but I
assume he probably was, or on his way to being that.
Or was definitely a military. Wow. Oh, that's cool.
I mean, to me, that just like opens up that guy in a whole new way too, though.
I would like to talk about the whole China thing in this movie.
Let's do it.
Without going too much into like real modern politics of China, but a little bit, because this is a few years before the last year or two push of like really negative like international messaging about China. I mean, there has been for a long time, but there's like obviously a recent push, you know, and like not going to comment on that, but like it feels like they're doing just sort of a like not nuanced China and Russia bad thing, America good. You know, that's what it seems like to me at first with like the international relations of the whole thing. It's just like, just China and Russia are warmongers. America is trying to keep the peace, you know? But then you start to realize they kind of are all both. Like they all just kind of assume it's like a Mexican standoff thing. Like everyone is like, but then the fact that, because you think it's like, oh, China got the weapon and they're going to attack America. But it's like China is like, forget these aliens. They're trying to tear us apart, trying to give us weapons. We're not interested. We're not, which is like so like that feels like the biggest twist in the movie is that they have a big, you know, imperial country being like not interested. Thank you, no thank you. Because it feels like impossible that like America and any president or like general we've ever had would be like, no, we don't want that weapon. No thanks. Like they definitely would win. And so like having that be China's reaction, but still a bad thing because it's a misunderstanding of what's happening. Right. But like, I love that they're like, we're not like, we'll not deal with these aliens who want to divide humanity. It's like, oh, that's such a cool and unexpected thing. And then General Zhang ending up being part of like the hero in like understanding. And like when we actually like meet him, just seems like a wise dude who understood the stakes, you know?
Yeah. Well, and because I think that's so true too, what you say about it being a misunderstanding, because this movie is about language. It's about war being what happens when language fails.
And when Ian quotes, when they're on the helicopter and he quotes to Louise from her book, that whatever, like words are the first weapon drawn in a conflict. That feels like a big, between the international relations and between the humans and the aliens. It seems like war is always about to happen. Yeah. But you've got the more enlightened, like honestly, just like you've got the like more enlightened Chinese leadership than like versus like who we're focusing on in America, who like, not that they want war either, but they are like, they're not doing what they need to be doing to avoid it, you know? Yeah. And then you've got like the aliens who get bombed, but are still cool about it. Like still keep it together and like don't retaliate. How much they know, how much can they do about the future? Because Abbott dies, or he's dying. They save Louise, you know, they dump her out right before the bomb goes off. So it's like, how much like can they like, you know, or is it just a sort of thing they've seen every possible future and this is the one where it works out, or things just go the way they do, including knowing the future information, but it's still like one path laid out, you know?
Yeah. I think they aren't visions. I think they're memories. So I think they can't change anything in any capacity.
But they can use the information from the future to make decisions now.
Yeah, which is like a time travel paradox. When it first comes up, but then the movie is kind of like the paradox is the point.
Right. Like, it kind of becomes like, it seems like a paradox to you monkey brain linear understanding, but that's just not how time is. Like you can move through time in that way and it does work.
Yeah. Really hurts the brain to think about it. I hate to do this, but I do want to get us back on track to Wade's stats. I feel like I feel like I've been relieved of the duty of telling what happens in this movie because we've gone through a lot of it, but I do want to get Wade to finish up doing the stats before we go over time.
What, can I respond briefly to what we just said?
Yeah.
So I think to Chandler's discussion about like the optimistic outlook on international politics in this movie, I think that is represented too in Forrest Whitaker's character, who I think is kind of like an underappreciated or a thankless role because he has to sort of be like the conflict of the movie.
Yeah,
he is like embodying the militaristic viewpoint and everything. But even in how he plays that is like so kindly, like the things Louise does like so much that should be like against the rules and illegal in this movie. And like what he is always saying to her is like, let me understand. He's like, he's always saying to her, like, explain this to me. And he'll be like, okay, well, I can buy you a little bit of time, but then I need more.
Yeah. And it's also sort of playing back into that like mundanity and that like, it's a day at work is how so much of him is like, it's just what's coming from on top, you know?
His goodbye when presumably like they have entered the apocalypse is just, he says like, it's over. It's been an honor working with you.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. That's the last time you see him, you know?
Oh man. Yeah. We should do stats. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
I just thought of two tangents I could go on.
We're back on track. We're back on track. Where even was I? Okay. The cinematography for this movie was directed by Bradford Young, who I think is a really cool guy. He's sort of up and comer. He's like young 40s, which is pretty young for a cinematographer in this sort of thing. He's from Kentucky. He went to Howard. He did the cinematography for, in addition to this movie, Selma, one of my favorite films, A Most Violent Year, and Solo, A Star Wars Story.
Whoa.
And his big thing is like shooting using natural light and available light. Like that is like his big style thing is like not putting lights on the set and like shooting it where you can.
Selma has really, really good cinematography. That's a really weirdly pretty movie at times.
So is Solo. Like the camera movements in Solo are really cool.
How do you do that natural lighting?
Dark.
How do you do natural lighting on Solo, though?
Well, like you said, it's dark because there's no natural lighting.
That is the thing, is that movie, it looks like someone just like did not turn the brightness up enough on the final version of that film, which I feel like is probably because so much of it takes place in like mines and smugglers and ships.
Yeah, this movie also, Arrival, has the, like, there's not going to be natural lighting inside the ship.
Yeah. That's true.
But it still feels like very realistic lighting. Like it feels like the real lighting of that setting and not stage lighting at all.
But all of the outdoor stuff, especially, I think.
Yeah.
And like almost all of the flashbacks are outdoors. Or the stuff in her apartment, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That is such a gorgeous house, too.
I read that was part of both her house and her classroom are like all built facing like one big white screen in the way that the spaceship is. And that was like part of the symmetry of the movie.
Interesting.
From the production designer.
That's interesting.
So this dude, Bradford Young, became the first black cinematographer to ever be nominated for an Oscar for this film.
Wow. In 2016. That's a little late, fellas.
Also, the briefest of tangents. I'm so sorry. But you know what? This is a big movie. It's going to be a big episode.
It's a big movie, dude.
Yeah, that's another thing we haven't even talked about. But all of our guests for this whole series have been like, I haven't seen any Denny movies, but I've seen Arrival.
Yeah.
This is like the movie. This is his movie that everyone has seen. My brief tangent is just that the actor Michael K. Williams recently passed away. Rest in peace. And I'm surprised that I'm not seeing a lot of people talking about the fact that he filmed Solo, A Star Wars Story, and then was cut out in the reshoots. And I just want to Disney just give us the Lord and Miller cut with him playing Paul Bettany's character that like is fully exists on a shelf in Disney somewhere.
Wait,
so they recast him?
Solo, A Star Wars Story was originally directed by Chris Lord and Phil Miller, who are these really funny guys. They did Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Jump Street movies, Into the Spider-Verse. They hired them to make Solo. They filmed it was reported 90% of the entire movie.
Mhm.
And then Disney was like, no, this is too funny. We don't actually want a comedy. We want a Star Wars movie. And then they fired him and brought on Ron Howard.
Wow.
So when they filmed that whole movie, they had Michael K. Williams playing the villain, but he was supposed to be, he like filmed all his scenes and he was supposed to be CG'd into like a digital animated character that he would be voicing.
Weird. Interesting.
And when they had to reshoot the whole movie, they didn't have time. He couldn't come back for the reshoots and they didn't have time to reanimate his character.
They should have just had him voice Paul Bettany.
They cast Paul Bettany, and Paul Bettany just played a human with like no digital aspect.
With like dragon breath at the end.
Also, didn't he have a scar in that movie? I'm wondering if they were like, we'll keep the Michael K. Williams scar. I can't remember if I'm imagining that, but I think he does.
That's a good point. No, he does. He does.
Yeah, they're like, we like that. Nothing else about it.
Anyway, release the Lord of
Release? Yeah,
Yeah.
real. I would love to see that. I've seen that. I've seen Michael K. Williams in The Wire, of course, and Community. It was really good in both of those.
This movie, Arrival, runs 1 hour and 56 minutes. It was released by Paramount Pictures. Denny has not repeated a movie studio yet in his 3 American movies. It was released November 11th, 2016, 3 days after the American public elected Donald Trump to be the 44th president of the United States.
It feels like a 2016 sci-fi movie.
In what sort of ways?
In ways that might be hard to exactly nail down. Like the news media feels like it did in 2016. The sort of Alex Jones cutaway thing. It feels like kind of almost prophetic, but also like not enough. Like now it's like the fact that we don't see like the masses trying to get into Montana to kill the aliens or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I also, this might be more of a tangent too, but I think it's interesting how we keep cutting to the rioting, but it's almost all in Venezuela. Like that is like every time we cut to like what's happening in the world, it's violence in Venezuela almost every time. And I'm wondering why. That's just a weird choice to me. And I think we're told that it's happening everywhere, but that's what they keep like showing us.
Yeah.
I think that's weird. And I don't know. It seems intentional. And I don't really know enough about like Venezuela to know like why that might be the point being made.
I think Denny is certainly willing to make movies about other cultures, to like dive deep into other cultures and other conflicts that he's not a part of.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing, but much, much more than other directors of his stature and status. He is.
Yeah.
I think the prophetic stuff in this movie that feels much more accurate is the stuff with like the weirdo guard whose wife is watching the news and calls him and tells him like, you're the only one who can do it. Like you're the only one who can destroy these things for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels much more like The Thing to me. Cool. I can do this in one fell swoop. We're almost there. And yes, it was critically acclaimed. It was commercially successful. Box office of $203 million off a $47 budget. That surpasses Prisoners 122 off of the same budget. So this is what is his most successful film so far. Nominated for 8 Oscars at the Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Cinematography. The only one it won was Best Sound Editing.
It is good sound editing.
But still controversial and still brought up is the fact that Amy Adams was not even nominated for her role in this film. Amy Adams, as an actress, has been nominated 6 times, but has never won an Academy Award.
Interesting. Wow.
She could and should have won for this, and she should not have been nominated for Hillbilly Elegy. Thank you.
I don't know if she was. I know Glenn Close was. I'm sure
she was.
Who's the only other one?
The only film that got nominated at the Oscars last year was Hillbilly Elegy. It was up for everything.
Bo-Rat 2.
And Bo-Rat 2. Those were the 2 movies that the Academy had watched.
I really hope y'all just pronounced it Bo-Rat.
Okay.
All right.
That's all. We're done.
Is that the fell swoop?
We're done.
All right, then fell swoop once more.
Take us where we need to be.
So now we can start talking about the movie.
Yeah, now we can start talking about it. Chandler, flop or bop?
Oh, Bop, 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 Bop. Bop. Such a good movie.
Wade, flop or bop?
Bop for me as well. I really like this movie. I did not the first time, and I just do not now have like the utmost adoration that I feel like Emmett has for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like it. It reminded me a lot on this rewatch of Interstellar, another movie that is sort of for 3/4 of the movie, they're like, this is hard science. This is about science. And then at the end, they're like, just kidding. It's about love.
Yeah.
But I think that twist plays much more successfully here. I just like a lot of the things this movie is doing and saying. There are parts of it that leave me a little cold, if I'm being honest, but I really like it in general. Emmett, flop or bop?
This movie is a bop. It makes me weep every time. It is like, I mean, like you saw, I was pretty drunk when we watched this for this go round, but you saw that I was pretty much waterworks the whole time.
Oh, yeah, he was truly.
It's like, this one gets me for some, I can't really, I mean, like, I feel like this movie hits me in a way that is greater than the sum of its parts as we're talking about them, which feels right. But yeah, I can't explain the way that I feel about this movie because it touches something beyond explanation.
Like, thinking about the movie, I almost think about it non-linearly, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think of the movie itself as like a moment. It's done in such a like dreamlike way. And it's really like 3 sets also, I think, is another good point about it. Like, after the intro, you're in like a tent and you're outside and you're in the spaceship.
Yeah. And they're all pretty contained, low budget sorts of sets. Too.
Yeah. And it gives it this feeling, and you've kind of got this loop you're on of like having a session and then getting off and then like weird stuff happening in the tent and like learning, you're just kind of on this loop that makes it like, it's like, it's almost like you don't think about the movie as like beginning, middle, and end, clear act structure. It has that. Yeah. It is that. But like my memory of the movie is more kind of like ephemeral.
Like the first time I saw it, it moved me. The second time I saw it, it wrecked me. I think this, I mean, we've talked about how a lot of the Denny movies are good on a rewatch. This movie, every time you rewatch it, you are having more of the experience of the main character.
Yeah.
Because you like are on that same cycle where you're like, I can remember what happens in the end of this movie, which she also can. And so that like makes everything, it's a movie that like deepens and gets like richer every time you watch it.
Yeah.
Because structurally, not just because it's a good movie that you can get more out of every time, but it structurally does that for itself.
Yeah.
And Amy Adams, who I like, but don't love most of the time. Most of the time, I feel like she's doing a good job. I think she's putting in a performance above and beyond anything else that she's done in this movie.
I love her a lot, and I think she is really good in this too. I kind of wonder, like, when she has the speech at the end, and she's like, but I did accept it, and I did live through those moments, and, like, I chose to move on anyway. I am sort of like, did she? Because she seems kind of, like, miserable throughout the rest of her life that we see of like living out those moments. Or is that just because we're seeing the moments where she's sort of like flashing around, you know?
Yeah, where she's having those like sort of telemetric like time on top of time moments.
Yeah, and she's disoriented from that.
I think it could be that. I also think, I feel like the only time we see her not miserable is like when she is in the tank, like with Abbott or with Costello, like when she like is like overcome by just like, she does such a good job throughout the movie, or throughout like especially like the first sort of contact, of acting just like, holy crap, I'm about to do something so big, like I'm having such a singular experience, and like that overwhelming. And I love that moment after they first get out, when Ian they just like make eye contact and just have that knowing, like words cannot express what we're feeling. I have to go throw up now. Like, that like my human body, not just my mind, my human body can't handle how weird and big what just happened was.
Right.
So I've just got to throw up. And I think she does a really good job of that. I think Jeremy Renner's just okay in this movie, to be honest.
Wow. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
Is this a safe space? Because if it's not, that's okay. But like,
it's a safe space.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think Renner's the best performance in the movie.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Lay it on us. So why?
I just think he's like really good. Part of it, she has a plot arc, but as we're sort of saying, like her attitude is very similar for most of the movie emotionally, except in those scenes with Abbott and Costello, which I think she's incredible in those.
Yeah.
Especially the last one where she gets to go inside the tank. I think she's amazing in that. But I don't know. Renner is a guy who I'm like so on in general. I'm sort of like, what's his thing? He's just an everyman. Like, is that supposed to be his thing? That he's just like a regular dude? I don't know. I feel like Denny saw him and he's like, we're going to give him these little glasses. We're going to play him as like a quiet intellectual. And I think he's so charming. I love his relationship with Amy Adams and like how it develops over the course of the movie. I love all the different ways you see him be there for her.
Yeah.
And all the way up through that scene where he's basically like telling them to shoot him so she can be on the phone call a second longer.
I think he's in love with her before they meet. What do you guys think? Like, I think...
Yeah, he might maybe. Yeah.
He's read a book.
I think he's read her book and he is like, holy crap, I get to work, but I'm in love with this person. And it definitely seems like to him... And I mean, I guess he says like meeting her was like bigger than the alien stuff. I kind of feel like that does not go both ways. What do you guys think about? I feel like he's obviously into her like the whole movie. I feel like we basically never see her seem to actually reciprocate those feelings. Partially just because we don't really see a lot of like positive emotion from her in general in this movie. And like partially also just because like as she realizes that she's gonna marry him, is when she's realizing they're going to get divorced. So like presumably they have some happy times after this big event. And like she's going through a lot more than he is, you know?
Yeah.
And it almost feels like a thing of like when she realizes that she'll marry him is when she realizes when it even occurs to her to look at him that way. Like I don't really see any like she's so focused on like the job and what's going on. Yeah, I love what you said about like how many different ways he's there for her. Like he like is like seems like he will be a great husband to a sort of extraterrestrial mind now, like someone who's like existing on a different plane. You know, like that can't be easy. But like I don't feel like she gives it back a lot.
I feel like part of it is that she's learning about their divorce at the same time that she is like meeting him and falling in love with him.
Yeah.
And also about her child's death. Like, I feel like both of those are intentional. We do see them happy in the one flashback moment where he's like, let's make a baby. That's the one time. And I've got to say, like, on this rewatch, knowing the twist, like, the first time the twist got me so good. I didn't see it coming. And this time, knowing the twist, it wasn't her moment of being like, I accept it, I do it anyway, that really broke me. It was his moment where he's like, where she just asks him what he would do. It takes him a minute and then he says like, I would say what I feel more often. And then he like grabs her hand. And that was the part that like got me so good on this watch.
Yeah, he does have some really good stuff towards the end. I feel like for a lot of the movie, I feel like he's kind of, not that he does bad, but I was just like, whatever. Like, I didn't feel like I was getting a lot from him. But he has some very good stuff there towards the end. You want to know, what is that dude's life like after divorcing her? After divorcing this near God figure.
The alien lady.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, right? Well, after that, he has a really dark phase of his life where he kills a bunch of people and becomes a mercenary. And then his whole family gets disappeared in this big, crazy thing. Wow. And then he has to kill his best friend. No, wait.
Yeah.
So, Wade, would you say that he was your MVP in this film?
Well, is he up for grabs?
He is. I'm only putting Amy Adams off the table. She's the only one.
Then I guess I would. I do think he's the best performance. I had someone else that I was going to mention for my MVP, and I will just shout them out if neither of you pick them, because I think lots of good performances in this, but I do think Renner is my favorite.
Sweet. Chandler, who would you say your MVP?
Can you go? I need to think. I should have thought about this before.
I mean, like, there's only a very few other people on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's General Zhang, Forrest Whitaker's general character.
And Michael Stuhlbarg as, like, the more rash military guy.
Oh, yeah, like the CIA guy there.
Yeah, who's the dad from Call Me By Your Name the year after this.
Oh, interesting.
And there's, like, the guard guy or whatever, the
soldier.
That, like, plants the bomb.
Who does do a good job.
Yeah.
He does.
I think I'm going to give it to Forrest Whitaker for this one. He is, like, grounded in this and makes it feel real. He's not, like, freaking out when he comes to her. He's very serious and there's urgency to what he's saying, but he, like, seems like a seasoned military guy would be. And I do like his relationship with her a lot. Like, that I think it's, like, very different from, you know, it, like, to contrast the way that Emily Blunt's character is treated by the military and all the men that are around in that movie. This is another movie where she comes into a camp of predominantly men, but because Forrest Whitaker's character, like, respects her and, like, values what she has to say and is there to learn from her instead of assuming it to be the other way around. I think I like it.
That's a really good point, Emmett.
The thing is, like, I want to give it to Abbott and Costello somehow. Like, or, like, the animators. I guess, like, I really do think there's a lot of character in those moments. And because it's such a good job of, like, it's not like an Alien where it's like, oh, yeah, like, it's weird, but, like, I understood the emotions. Like, I don't understand them. But not in a way that was, like, frustrating or confusing. And there's, like, moments of, like, oh yeah, this is, like, they're connecting. Like, honestly, like, Amy Adams and those animated creatures are good scene partners. Like, which honestly probably says as much about, like, her performance again as it does about them. But yeah, I guess, like, yeah, my MVP is the animators. Because there's acting going on there, and it's alien acting.
Absolutely. I just wanted to shout out then too, since no one picked him, General Zhang.
That would be probably
Zima.
My second.
He has so much, like, presence and charisma in just that one little bit.
Yeah, for someone who's basically just, like, a picture on a screen for most of the movie as, like, a mystery antagonist, and then just shows up for that little scene. Yeah,
I feel like he speaks to her in that scene with, like, love.
Yeah.
Like,
I think so too.
Like, like, he, like, almost like to a child.
Yeah.
Like, he's helping her save the world. He's helping her help him save the world. But also, like, he's gonna have to talk about he's gonna have to, like, evoke his dead wife and, like, her very, like, anti-war last words. Like, he's carrying a lot with him in that moment. And he seems like the way he approaches her is, like, it's like he's awestruck, you know?
Yeah.
He adores her.
Well, and he's, like, maybe the most powerful single man in the world. Like, he like, as far as, like, a one person wielding authority over such a large group of people, it's got to be him, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think too, thinking about that, like, childlike sense of this movie, the word arrival is very tied into, like, a baby being born to me. Yeah, the arrival. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, is it the arrival of the aliens or is it the arrival of Hannah?
That's interesting because the aliens look kind of spermy and their ship looks kind of eggy. So that's
good. It is an egg. Yeah.
Huh.
And Denny is obsessed with mothers. Like, all of his films have so much about motherhood. So
that's really
and this film has a dad who, like, pretty much quits and a mom who will not quit for all time.
Right.
So
yeah. And I feel like she have a choice. She seems to think she has a choice.
Yeah, that's
Put
true.
it that way. Like, maybe she doesn't, like, timey-wimey stuff, but I feel like, behaves as though she chose the pain that was coming for the love that would come before it.
Even if she didn't have a choice that the actions would happen, which I agree that she might, I think that she has a choice to, like, really live through it or not, you know?
Right. Yeah. She has the choice to like, fully accept it or not. And to, like, say, yes, this is right. And also, like, and I'm probably going to cry now. But this is, like, something that I think this movie gets at, and maybe part of why it like hits me so hard, is because that is like that choice, like for her, is very like real and very clear. Like she knows the exact timeline that her daughter's going to die. But like any time that anyone chooses to become a parent, like they know eventually that child is going to die, like whether it happens in their lifetime or not.
Yeah.
So it's like that whole, it's like, are you willing to bring new life into a world of pain?
Yeah.
Or not? And is it like, does the love redeem that choice or not? And I don't know that the movie, like, I know that she answers it, but I don't know that the movie fully answers it.
Ian obviously disagrees with her, like says that she chose wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and that could be referring to waiting so long to tell him or having her, but I feel like it's about having her. Like, I feel like the implication is that he would have been like, if that's how it ends, we shouldn't have that baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, even the thing Emmett was talking about, it's not that dissimilar from what the aliens are doing in this movie.
Yeah.
Of kind of being like, things will hurt in the present, but it will be worth it eventually.
Yeah.
You know?
Like Abbott dying and probably knowing that's when he dies, but still, whether he has a choice or not, going on this mission.
All right. Well, do you all have any other final thoughts on this before we move on to a little bit of lighter fare for our quiz and wrap this puppy up?
Oh, just two funny things. I just like, I get it and it still works, but like the fact that like Forrest Whitaker's character could even think for a second that she might be able to just immediately translate an alien growling. Like, it almost takes me out where I'm like, I know we're doing like a science versus military guy thing, but what the hell did he expect from that? You've got a phone recording of, do you hear any words or phrases? Like, no, I don't. Of course I don't. Are you kidding me? This is going to take years. Like, but then also, I can't remember what specific moment I wrote this down, but I wrote, man is spitting game in this situation, because like the world is ending and Ian is just, I think I wrote it down after he's like, the biggest thing was meeting you. It's just like so cool and funny that he is like, and like when they're in the back of the truck, you know, like he is just always like, he's like, I don't know how long I have, but I'm in love with this girl and I'm like trying to be super cool despite everything that's happening. And that he does do a really good job on. So I'm coming back around on Jeremy Renner doing good in this movie.
Wade, final thoughts?
Two final thoughts. First one, and this feeds into my second one, which is about how different and also similar this is to the other Denny movies. It's really interesting to me that all of Denny's movies that have been released so far are like hard R. Like brutal. And this movie, they drop one F-bomb, and that is really it.
Was it rated R?
It was rated PG-13. If that one F-bomb was not in it, I think it would be rated G. Like beyond, like that's the only swear word they say in the movie. It's that
There's
one utterance.
Shooting though, and a bomb. I don't know if you can do that kind of stuff in G.
Maybe PG, but like, there's no nudity, there's no sex, there's not really much violence, there's barely any peril. Like, it is interesting to me that this is such like a peaceful movie. Yeah,
it is like serene.
The vibe of this movie is like sitting outside and like letting a lake wash over your feet. That is the vibe of this movie that is about aliens.
But like it's overcast and there's like lightning in the distance, but you're just enjoying the lake right now.
Yeah, and my second thought, which I guess is just a continuation of the first thought, is like that I noticed a bunch of other things from Denny movies and this. Maybe you caught some more too, Emmett, but like the one this reminded me the most of was the worst Denny movie, Maelstrom. In like the blue palette, like the depressive vibe, and like the story of this one woman sort of like trying to keep it together in the middle of all this stuff. That and Enemy, which I know that Denny has said like those two are siblings to each other. This one strikes me as like the third in that, because like the spiders and the dream sequence and everything, the jump scare dream sequence in this is right out of Enemy. I mean, that is
yeah, that's true.
Kind of exactly the same as Enemy. And even the academia aspect of it, of Enemy and of Polytechnique.
Yeah.
And like the nature photography, landscape shots of Sicario. Like, I just think there is a lot of his previous stuff in here. Yeah. Well, I feel like the big Denny things are like telling stories without words, car crashes, mothers, chaos theory, and like telling things out of sequence. Yeah. And those are all in this movie. This movie starts with her saying, like, we are so bound by the order of time, which is totally like a complaint Denny would make watching any other movie. It's not his. So I don't know. Emmett, do you have thoughts about that? And then what are your final thoughts in turn?
I think those are all astute observations about like the similarities here. I would also just add to that list of things that Denny is interested in the violence that people enact on each other because of like misunderstanding. You termed it earlier as because they don't see each other as human, which I think is especially interesting given this movie.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would just say this is an excellent film. Go watch it. Obviously, like it's the one that most people have seen of Denny's. It really stands up to a rewatch, multiple rewatches. If you liked it the first time, you liked it even more the second. And if you've never seen it, I think you should go check it out.
Emmett, take us home. Take us wherever we need to be.
I'm just trying to count up. I think I've got 8 movies here. This is from a list compiled of the best time travel films or TV shows on Netflix. I am going to I'm going to leave out a couple of the TV shows though, because that's not really our vibe, and I think that's
I know TV shows better.
Oh, okay, all right, screw it. We'll do all 11. You want to do all 11?
You're taking my kneecaps out there.
Chandler's okay, all right. TV guy.
All right. We'll do all 11.
I would like to just say though, this is not a time travel movie. But continue.
No.
I know it's not a time travel movie, but time travel paradox.
It's a time experience movie.
Yes, okay. But that's a much harder genre to look up lists of.
I know.
When you're trying to make a quiz at the last minute.
I'm messing.
All right. So the first movie on this list, a 1993 comedy. It's a classic.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
No, although excellent guess.
Are we guessing the movie?
This is Bum's the Word. The quiz is you're trying to guess the name of the movie. We're going to have 11 movies or TV shows, and whoever gets the most correct wins.
Okay. Is that the only clue we get? 1993 classic?
I'll just keep giving you 1993 classic about a weatherman.
The Weatherman?
Oh, Groundhog Day.
That is correct.
Groundhog Day is 93? I thought it was 80s. Wow.
Yeah, it does feel kind of like an 80s movie.
This next film came out in 2014. It stars Ethan Hawke. This list says it's hands down one of the best science fictions ever made. But
Source Code?
It's not Source Code.
I think I've seen it. Oh, I think I've seen it and I'm blanking on what it's called.
Is it a one-word title?
It is one-word title.
Oh, wait. No,
it sounds so much like Source Code, actually. Because, listen to this. The story kicks off when an agent is sent to the past to prevent a bomb attack from taking place. Which is also, I believe, the plot of Source Code.
And Tenet, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can you give us some hints about the nature of the title? Is it a character's name?
It's a single-word title.
Can you give us the director? It's not Looper, is it? No, that's older.
The tagline is, to save the future, he must protect his past. It's like the name is like a philosophical concept.
Equilibrium?
No.
Is it like chaos theory or parabellum or paradox?
You're getting closer.
Ethan Hawke is such a blind spot for me.
Me too, actually. Yeah. But I weirdly feel like I did see this movie.
I feel like I recently heard someone talking about this movie, which is why I could picture a one-word title, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to say I don't know.
Who's the director?
Okay. The director is Michael Spierig and Peter Spierig.
That means nothing to me.
It was also written by them and based on the Robert A. Heinlein short story, All You Zombies. It looks pretty cool, honestly. It is called Predestination.
Okay.
I wouldn't have gotten there.
I feel like I remember seeing trailers now.
The next film is from 2016. It's a Netflix original, and it's among the most watched Netflix films of this genre in the past 2 years. I'm assuming that means time travel genre. This movie has a name that is presumably an acronym. It's 3 capital letters, so there's a big hint. It tells the story of an engineer who has somehow found a way to find an energy source that is going to solve all the Earth's problems. It stars Robbie Amell in the lead role. Although he is successful in building a power source of that stature, there is one problem. He has created a time loop for himself and his friends from which he cannot get out.
I don't know. This isn't ringing any bells for me.
There's another Netflix original that's a 3-letter title with Michael Monroe and Gary Oldman, which is what I thought this was. But RKS.
Ooh, you are very close.
OMG. LOL.
BRB.
USA.
All right.
SEX.
Are you ready to give in?
Yeah.
ARQ. ARC. This next,
love these Netflix originals.
This next is a TV series from 2017, I think through 2017 through 2019. A German science fiction show.
Dark.
That is correct.
I didn't know that was a time travel show.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good.
I've heard it's really good. I gotta check it out.
The next film from 2017 as well. It's one of the highest grossing indie films of the year 2017. Inspired by Groundhog Day as its central theme, the film takes that idea and makes it something bigger and, dare we say, better.
Well, you said 2017?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the one I'm thinking of then.
It is also based on a famous science fiction novel of the same name.
Were you thinking of Palm Springs?
I was, yeah.
I was too. I think that's on Hulu. A lot of time loop movies on these time travel movies.
Yeah.
You said this was successful 2017 movie?
High grossing for one of the highest grossing indie films, starring Zoe Deutsch, Halston Sage, Logan Miller, Elena Kampouris, Kian Lawley, Lauren Oliver, just to name a few.
A bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
Would we have seen this movie or have heard of this movie?
I have not seen it, but I had heard of the book. So the title was familiar to me.
Same name as the book?
Same name as the book. It sounds like a teen romance sad name for a book. I did not know that this book was a science fiction book by the name of it, and would not have called it as such until I saw it on this list.
It's not the map of tiny perfect things, is it?
It's not.
I don't know.
Damn. I don't know either.
We're doing bad. I think we're like 1-1.
It's rough.
It's called Before I Fall. Really striking out on this.
You really pick some obscure time travel.
I think of you as Mr. Netflix.
I guess I'll just choose to take that as a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Next one is an animated series that began in 2013.
Phineas and Ferb?
And that's not Phineas and Ferb.
Is it an anime or a...
Rick and Morty?
It is Rick and Morty.
Damn it.
This next film is from 2012. We have talked about it pretty recently in a previous quiz. That's correct. Looper.
Looper's on Netflix? Go watch Looper, people. It's good.
The next film is Okay, well, I just gave that one away because I did that thing that I do.
The Trial of the Chicago 7?
Yeah, it is. It's The Trial of the Chicago 7. This movie is from 2009. If there's any film that could give Predestination a run for its money, this is it. It's presented as a psychological horror, but it features the story of a group of friends who jump onto another ship while they are traveling through the Atlantic Ocean. Little do they realize that they will find themselves in a world that seems very normal, but isn't, I guess.
Not ringing any bells.
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Think of a famous place in the Atlantic Ocean where bad
the Bermuda
things
Triangle.
Happen. Okay, think of just half of that name.
Triangle.
That is correct. Wade, you are correct. Triangle.
I said triangle though.
Project Triangle Strategy.
This is a TV series, 2015. It has the same name as I believe, late 80s or early 90s science fiction film and has some story similarities.
Total Recall?
No. It is based on a movie that originally starred Bruce Willis and
The Fifth
Brad
Element?
Pitt.
Oh, Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of hair and no hair.
I can't think of them in a movie together, so I feel like I haven't seen the movie it's based on.
The movie that this is based on is an excellent movie. I can't say anything for the series as I haven't seen it.
What is the movie it's based on?
I can't tell you because it's the
Same title.
name. Same title.
Oh.
Is this a sci-fi movie?
It is a sci-fi movie.
Is it Armageddon?
It is not Armageddon. It is a time travel. I mean, they're both time travel things.
Yeah.
The film was directed by Terry Gilliam.
Oh.
It has to do with a virus that is released and people trying to stop that virus being released in a time travel sort of way.
Does the title have the word monkey in it?
It does.
12 Monkeys?
That's correct.
Hey.
Next one, we've got another series. It's from 2016. It's the rare collaboration between Netflix and the Canadian production company Showcase. The series is a little more dark than an average sci-fi film and is set in a post-apocalyptic world. Thousands of special operatives are given a task of going back into the past and entering the body of people to avert tragedies from taking place, which are likely to ruin the planet. Interesting.
The Tomorrow War?
No.
I'm coming with all the Prime Video originals.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Thought you were gonna do like Hot Tub Time Machine. And...
Yeah, I wish. I'm sorry. They don't have that on Netflix anymore.
Oh.
The series is Travelers. And
I do think I maybe heard about that.
This last film is going to be from the year 2000. Despite the fact that this film holds an abysmal 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, it can give you quite a good time. It was based on a Swedish film that was also not well received, and features a guy who is about to get married and who finds himself reliving the morning after his stag night again and again.
Stag night?
Don't think I know this one.
Boss Level?
Okay, so this...
Marriage Story.
The title for this is also one word.
Roma?
Yeah, right. The title is one word.
Hillbilly Elegy.
It is a descriptive word.
Okay.
Stupid.
Is, the way that we, the saying, we come into the world
naked?
That is correct. No, that's correct. It's naked. Naked.
It's called Naked? And that's the premise? I feel like there's going to be a lot of disappointed viewers watching that one.
Yeah, right? Well, that is the game. Wade, you have won the game.
I think I only got one.
But Chandler, anything you'd like to, as a consolation prize, if you would like to plug anything on social media that you're doing, or
yes, I can plug things, and this time they are things that are actually going to happen in the real world, in the meat space. I perform at Roll Call Theater in Atlanta at Ponce City Market.
Cool.
Every other Thursday. With an improv comedy team named Stolen Goods. You can check us out. Just find Roll Call. You can follow Roll Call at rollcall.co. You can also follow me at Chandler_Pennington. Both of those are Instagram. I will also be directing a sketch team there. I believe our first show is going to be October 21st.
Cool.
So every other Thursday and October 21st, check me out. Oh, and also we have a special show. Oh, yeah. October 16th. It's also Stolen Goods, but it's a Saturday. I don't know why it's a special show yet. Just that it will be a special show. Because it's a Saturday. We get a special slot. So, yeah. Check that out. Check those things out if you're in the area. Or if you're not, come out. It's worth it.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Has there ever been a greater gulf between episodes that we've had a guest on than between Deadpool and Arrival?
Oh, geez.
In terms of time and quality and artistic importance.
They're both 2016 movies.
They are both very 2016 in their own way.
Yeah, and in both of these episodes, we talked about how they definitely felt of that year.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. If you guys don't do the Barbie series next, I would like to be on for a bad movie sometime. There won't be any bad movies in the Barbie series, so that's why I said that. But like, if you guys do a bad series, then I'd like to be on for a bad movie so that we can joke and dunk on. Well, I felt that I had to come on and defend Deadpool. So I felt like I didn't get to do as much dunking as I wanted to.
But Chandler, you started saying that you would only say positive things on a podcast. So how are we going to have you on for a bad movie?
Well, it'll probably be a year and a half before I'm back on at the pace we've been going at. So maybe things will change.
Okay.
No, I would be on this podcast every week if you'd let me. I'm talking about you guys, all right?
Okay.
Get me out here.
All right.
We'll pick up the pace.
All right.
Let's do some Barbie.
Now, up next, in 43 weeks, we will be talking about Jordan Peele's Nope. But until then, also next week, we will be talking about Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049, which runs an unconscionable 2 hours and 45 minutes. Let me remind you that we are going to do this for you, dear listener. We are actually going to watch all 2 hours and 45 minutes of this movie. So you better come and listen to this episode about it. All right, that's
you feel every minute of that movie too.
One of the rare movies where the episode will not be longer than the movie.
Yeah. God,
yeah,
we can only
you
hope.
Guys know I've come around on Denny. I love the man, but he should be in jail for releasing a 2 hour and 45 minute movie. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
Yeah, well, you're trying to, though, but I agree.
Yeah, I mean, like, incarceration is never the answer, but for something like that, maybe.
There are certain people that have to be just kept separate, yeah.
Well,
thank you, Chandler. We love you, Chandler.
Hey, thank you, guys. I love you guys.
So
Vote Barbie 2021.
Vote Barbie 2021. Better than what we got now. Am I right?
Only positive things.
Only positive things. All right, everybody, stay frosted. Cinema Bums is a production of DKG Podcasts. It is created and produced by Wade Lawrence Holloman and me, Emmett Temple. Wade also edits and mixes the podcast. Our theme music is by Zane Holloman, who you can find on Bandcamp, and our show art is by Autumn Beckner. Our social media is managed by Laura Bennett. If you like what you hear, please tell all your friends and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, the 2 best ways to spread the word about our work. You can also follow us on Instagram @CinemaBums or email us at cinemabumspod@gmail.com. Don't flake on us. We'll be back next week.